Happy Monday. Thank you for joining us on Pushing the Limits. And thankfully, I'm very appreciative to everybody that's listening, not just on the AM, FM dial, but also, of course, on the Occupy Democrats Network, the Washington Press Network, and, of course, TikTok, Twitter, or is it called X now? I don't even know. YouTube. And we appreciate you being a part of the show on a Monday. Boy, is there a lot to get to and a lot to talk about. We're going to get to Kristi Noem now doubling down on her dog murdering. Now saying, besides the fact that she's lying on national television and in her book, allegedly meeting Kim Jong-un. She was caught in a lie there. But now doubling down and making some statements to the point of Joe Biden's dog should have been shot in the head. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. So we're going to talk about it. Also going to be talking a little bit about who's on the stand in the Donald Trump hush money case. We'll give you some updates on that. It's not good news for Donald Trump. I got into a Twitter spat with Dana Loesch's husband, Chris Loesch. It's funny and sad at the same time. So I'll explain that to you. And we're going to get to some Tim Scott audio that the residential liberal, the proud liberal of the Pushing the Limits radio show. It is Monday, and that means Chris Wynn is in the house. Chris, thank you so much for being here.
Absolutely, Brian. Good to be here. Of course, coming off another very active weekend across the board. Cinco de Mayo, baby. How many margaritas and tequila shots was Brian Shapiro partaking in over the weekend, my friend?
I'm not much of an alcoholic drinker, as you know. I did smoke a cigar over the weekend, watched some hockey on television, some NBA playoffs, got a little sun, even though you can't really tell by looking at me, had a very fun date over the weekend, and that's about all I'll say to that. But anyway, okay. Chris, I want to get things going right away and get your blood boiling right off the bat on a Monday.
Really? Okay. You think you can get that going?
I think so.
We'll see what happens here.
Kristen Welker from Meet the Press had Tim Scott on, and I think we all could agree that Tim Scott is an embarrassment to the country. He has sold his soul to Donald Trump, and he wants to be, obviously, Donald Trump's vice president. We know that.
And he probably has a really good chance of being the vice presidential
nominee. At this point, I think it's between him and Stefanik.
Yeah.
But so we could agree that he's going to coddle. He's been coddling to Donald Trump. He's a complete embarrassment. Okay. So Kristen Welker interviews him over the weekend, right, on Meet the Press.
Yes.
And in this interview, let me just start with just fact-checking, because as Tim Scott being a black man, you'd think he'd understand the black unemployment numbers and he wouldn't skew them or lie about it, right? But, well, I thought wrong. Listen to Tim Scott fact-check live on the air with his stupid black unemployment numbers, which were wrong.
Conversation. We had no conversations about the VP pick, to be honest with you, to be clear. But we had a lot of conversations about the failures of Joe Biden and the success of Donald Trump.
A couple of points on the economy. Of course, the inflation rate has come down significantly from its high in 2022. In terms of black unemployment, it was actually at its lowest rate last year, 0.7% in April of 2023 as compared to.
So right there, Tim Scott is fact-checked live on the air. What do these Trumpers do? Well, you just heard it from Tim Scott. Lying about the unemployment numbers. Lying about the black unemployment numbers. Only the way that Tim Scott could do it. Shamed on the air by Kristen Welker, and kudos to Welker. I'm not a huge fan of hers, but she does a good job in pressing him on it. And that's what these MAGA surrogates do, and that's exactly who Tim Scott is. He's an embarrassment. But here's the part of the interview, Chris, that just goes to show you where these Trumpers are at. And it's such a poignant moment, like, in this country. There are so many people in this country that not only won't accept the 2020 election results, but if you ask them about the 2024 election, they're already saying they're really not going to accept the results. Listen to Kristen Welker ask Tim Scott what I would consider to be a very fair question that I ask many Republicans as well. Have a listen to this.
Senator, will you commit to accepting the election results of 2024? Bottom line.
Well, at the end of the day, the 47th president of the United States will be President Donald Trump. And I'm excited to get back to low inflation, low unemployment.
Wait, Senator, yes or no? Yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024 no matter who wins?
That is my statement.
But is it just yes or no? Will you accept the election results of 2024?
I look forward to President Trump being the 47th president.
He won't directly answer the question. Why? Because there's an audience of one,
Senator,
Donald Trump. And before I get your thoughts on this, Chris, she presses him even further on it. She asked him again, will you answer the question? Will you accept the 2024 election results?
I don't hear you committing to the election results.
Here's the joke.
Will you commit to accepting the election results?
This is why so many Americans believe that NBC is an extension of the Democrat Party. At the end of the day, I've said what I've said, and I know that the American people, their voices will be heard, and I believe that President Trump will be our next president. It's that simple.
But senators, you know, the hallmark of our democracy is that both candidates agree to a peaceful transfer of power. So I'm asking you as a potential VP nominee, will you accept to commit to the election results in this election cycle, no matter who wins? Just simply yes or no.
I expect President Trump to win the next election. Listen, I'm not going to answer your hypothetical question when, in fact, I believe the American people are speaking today on the results of the election. And if it continues for the next 6 months, we find ourselves in a great position where we get back to another century of American prosperity.
I'm not going to answer your hypothetical question.
It is just beyond laughable at this point. Look, I understand that Tim Scott plays the political game. That's what he does, right? He's a politician, so he's kind of playing the game here. But this was beyond absurd, all right, this exchange. First of all, the guy's stammering, twice in 30 seconds there when she asked him the first two times. You could tell that it was, and then he answers the question with that same weak line. How about this, all right? And I've talked about this before on the show, Brian. Let's start acting like adults. All right. It's a very basic question that has a yes and no answer. You don't need to give your prepared statement 3 times in an interview when it's not answering the question. Be an adult, own it, answer the question, and answer it, by the way, correctly, like you're supposed to answer it, which is yes, I will accept the results of the 2024 election. Yes, I should have accepted the results of the 2020 election and the 2016 and the 2012 and the 2008 and so on and so forth. It's got to a point where it's just pathetically ridiculous. It really is. It's pathetic.
Well, Tim Scott is pathetic.
I don't even, and like I just said like 30 seconds ago, I guess I understand they're trying to play a political game, and you're correct, Brian, when you say that he's playing to an audience of one, but this is getting beyond the pale. I mean, this is getting, if this is our excuse is the word I'll use for people answering questions like this, then, it's just another indication, Brian, that we're just not in a good spot from a political standpoint and in this country whatsoever, that we have people that want to believe an alternative reality of what actually took place and what actually is going to take place in 2024. 2020 was one of the most secure elections in American history. That's a fact. That's not Chris Wynn's opinion. That's not Brian Shapiro's opinion. That's a fact. Joe Biden was a duly elected president in 2020. The election was over almost 4 years ago. The guy's been president for 4 years. Yet these idiots out there, all of you idiots out there, want to just keep believing complete BS that Joe Biden did not get whatever it was, the 80 million plus votes that he got. You want to believe that he's not a legitimately elected president. You want to believe that Barack Obama is the shadow president, or there's other people that are running the government, or other people that are doing his duty as chief executive of the United States. Just give me a break. You know what I mean? And look, and so this goes back to Tim Scott. Yes, he's playing the party line, but not being able to answer a basic question is really frustrating for us normal people out there, normal adults who understand the reality of the situation and want him to give an honest, straightforward answer to a question that he did not do.
Let's be very clear on this. Tim Scott is far from the only person that will refuse to answer that question.
Absolutely.
There are a lot of MAGA supporters, MAGA politicians, those that are already in office, where if you ask them, will you accept the election results in November, they will give you the same answer or lack of an answer the same way that Tim Scott did. Why? If a Republican loses, the Democrats must have cheated. But if a Republican wins, like Donald Trump did in 2016 and Hillary Clinton conceded hours later, everything must have been fine and dandy. Everything must have been great. This is where the MAGA Republican Party is at today. And Tim Scott's interview is just a microcosm of where the Republican Party is at today. Now, not every Republican will answer the question that way. There are good Republicans out there, some of them who I consider very good friends. But Tim Scott embarrassed himself once again on national TV, and then that's what they do. They attack the media. That's not a liberal question. That's not an NBC question. That's not a Democrat question. It is what any American should want to know. Will you accept the results of a free and fair election like what took place in 2020? And Tim Scott won't answer the question. Why? Because he knows Donald Trump is watching. And if you answer the question and say, yes, absolutely, I'll accept it, you know that if Donald Trump loses in November, he's going to say the election was stolen again and the Democrats cheated and Joe Biden, it was rigged and election interference. And Tim Scott's going to get right on that bandwagon. That's why he won't answer the question. These people are cowards. They're liars, and they will say and do anything. Tim Scott has sold his soul to Orange Man. Tim Scott is an embarrassment to the country, and he's an embarrassment on so many different levels and reasons why. This interview was an embarrassment. The Republican Party and those that are in the party, so many on the far right, have no backbone. They are a bunch of conspiracy theorists, uneducated clowns. Now,
well, I would magnify, Brian. I would magnify what you said with this respect. All right. When she's asking the question, she's asking regardless of if Donald Trump wins or Joe Biden wins. Right. That is the whole point of the question, is just, will you accept the election? And instead of answering honestly and saying, oh, yeah, regardless of if Joe Biden wins or Donald Trump wins, yes, I will accept the results of the election, he goes into his packaged statement with respect to, oh, Donald Trump's going to win. Okay, so she didn't ask you what your prediction was, guy, okay, when it comes to the election. She asked you, are you going to accept the outcome of the election? And so he had it prepared. And again, when I say magnify, I'm going to bring up what you just brought up about a minute and a half ago. All right. MAGA. Okay. And it's just MAGA, by the way, and Republicans who have this viewpoint. If Donald Trump wins the election in November, everything is fine. There's no problems whatsoever. Just like 2016. It'll be exactly the same as that. All of you MAGA people out there, you'll have absolutely zero problem with the election process and everything that takes place. But if Joe Biden wins, actually, I'll say this as a Democrat. When Joe Biden wins in November, heads are gonna explode when it comes to MAGA and people on the right and Trump supporters. Because they're gonna claim again. They're gonna claim again that there was some type of corruption, some type of shenanigans, Brian Shapiro, going on.
So there's two different types of MAGA Republicans, in my personal opinion. There are those like Tim Scott, who I don't think is a dumb guy. He's just a disgrace.
He's not a dumb guy.
So hold on. There's two different types of MAGA Republicans. There's people like Tim Scott, like I said, who I don't think is a dumb guy. He's an educated guy, but he's a liar. He's a coward. He's got no backbone, and he'll say and do anything for Donald Trump and for Donald Trump's ears only. And I'm going to say this right now. Then there are people that are really dumb. I think Kristi Noem is an extremely stupid person. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Lauren Boebert. These are people that are very dumb people, right? Now, why am I calling Kristi Noem dumb? Well, I can call her dumb for a lot of different reasons. She's a very stupid lady. But, we'll get to the dog stuff and what she put in her book in a moment, because now she's doubling down on it with Joe Biden's former dog. But she has this book coming out, and, she's doing a tour, and it's not going very well for her. And in the excerpts from this book, she makes the case that she met Kim Jong-un. Now, she was caught in a lie. And I want you to listen to this exchange that she had on Face the Nation on CBS that does not go very well for her.
So you write about lessons learned in leadership, and you bring up some specific incidents I want to ask you about. You talk about meeting some world leaders, and one specific one, quote, "I remember when I met with North Korean dictator Kim Jong-un, I'm sure he underestimated me, having no clue about my experience staring down little tyrants. I've been a children's pastor after all." Did you meet Kim Jong-un?
Well, as soon as this was brought to my attention, I certainly made some changes and looked at this passage. And I've met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world.
Okay, hold on a second. The question wasn't, how many world leaders have you met? And what do you mean when it was brought to your attention? Hey, dumbass. Hey, dum-dum. It's your book. It's your passage. They got it from you. You're lying. You're making the case that you met Kim Jong-un. What do you mean when it was brought to your attention? Stupid. This is your book. And the question wasn't, how many world leaders have you met? Go ahead, continue the clip.
I've traveled around the world. As soon as it was brought to my attention, we went forward and have made some edits. So I'm glad that this book is being released in a couple of days and that those edits will be in place and that people will have the updated version.
So you did not meet with Kim Jong-un. That's what you're saying.
I met with many, many world leaders. I've traveled around the world. I think I've talked extensively in this book about
Brian, I just talked about this. Brian, I just talked about this 5 minutes ago, okay? It's not making the case of meeting somebody, okay? You either meet a person or you don't meet a person. I'm getting upset now. You either meet somebody or you don't. It's not, there's no ambiguity there. There's no gray area when Brian Shapiro or Chris Wynn or Justin Chuck or all the PTL Nation out there meet somebody. You either meet them or you don't. There's no question about that.
Hold on, the clip isn't over
What are we
yet.
talking about here?
Keep it going.
Yeah.
Extensively in this book about my time serving in Congress, my time as governor, before governor, some of the travels that I've had. I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with world leaders. I'm just not going to do that.
It's her book.
I'm not going to talk about my specific meetings with leaders, yet in the book you put in a passage where you were meeting with Kim Jong-un, which has turned out to be a complete and total lie. What does she mean when she says, I'm not going to talk about my meetings with world leaders? Hey, dope. You're the idiot that's putting it in your book. Yeah. What do you mean you're not talking about it? You're making it public in your book. You were caught in a lie. And then you say, well, we made edits, meaning we were caught in a lie. I tried to lie and be Mrs. Tough Guy. I met Kim Jong-un. And then when you were actually questioned on it, you knew that you couldn't prove that you met Kim Jong-un because you didn't. And your excuse is, oh, well, we made some edits there, and I'm not going to talk about meeting with all these world leaders.
This anecdote shouldn't have been in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I made sure that was adjusted. So the book is not released until Tuesday, and so we're doing all that we can to make sure that those changes are made, and I'm going to continue to focus on what this book is and the blueprint that it lays out for the American citizen on all of the things in the background and stories of my life, but also what I think that needs to be identified in politics and what's broken today. I talk about how broken the money game is, how broken it is that we've got consultants that are getting rich off of elected officials, and then how fake some elected politicians are. Every single person in this country wants someone in elected office that's a human being, that doesn't say they're perfect. I take responsibility for that being in the book, and as soon as it was brought to my attention, I asked for it to be changed. So I'm glad that the release date is in a couple of days, and we're excited to talk to America about my new book, No Going Back.
By the way, let me just be clear on this one. Kristi Noem is the female version turning into of George Santos. The blueprint, what is it the blueprint on? How to execute puppies? The blueprint on how to lie about meeting with world leaders and then have an edit and get caught in a lie? She is the female version of George Santos, maybe dumber than George Santos. This woman is despicable. She's also the same person who used her governorship and her place in power to get free dental work, made an agreement, by the way, which is against the law, with her dentist to put out a video saying how wonderful her dentist is so she could get her teeth done.
Her dentist, by the way, who lives in another state, and
Right.
she's the governor of South
Right,
Dakota.
right.
And she went to Texas.
Did
to
she
do
think
it.
she could get? Let me ask you a question, Chris. Okay. How stupid of an and I haven't even gotten to the dog stuff yet because it gets worse now because now it involves Commander Joe Biden's former dog. I haven't even gotten to that yet. We'll get to that in a minute.
Yeah.
But how stupid of an individual do you have to be? I mean this seriously and sincerely. To shoot a puppy in the head and gloat about it in your book, to lie about meeting with a world dictator, I'll call him a dictator, Kim Jong-un,
Yes.
lying about that, putting it in your book, getting free dental work from a dentist, which you pointed out, from another state, and endorsing a dentist, which is against the law when you're a politician. You can't do that. And doing it publicly, I assume not thinking at the time that, hey, this might not look good. How bad of judgment do you have, and how stupid of a person do you have to be? How dumb is Kristi Noem? How stupid is she as a person? We both know a lot of stupid people. You have a few stupid friends. You know who I'm talking about. We both know.
Wait, time out. I do. You do too.
Well,
as well.
yeah, but
we all do probably.
Perhaps, but
this isn't just Brian Shapiro,
how
Chris
stupid?
Wynn thing.
How stupid is Kristi Noem on the dumb poll?
Oh, you asked the question. I don't know. I mean, I don't know her personally. I suspect she's not very intelligent. I'll leave it at that. But that being said, I mean, look, she's hawking a book. And by the way, checking the Pushing the Limits Occupy Democrats Facebook page, the text line. Lori West chimes in. I hope Kristi's book sells as well as Marjorie Taylor Greene's book did. That's good stuff. Thanks, Lori. Look, again, and by the way, she's talking about, mini. What did she say? Mini dictators talking about Kim Jong-un. Yeah. Kim Jong-un is not a child. The guy's like almost 40 years old. Okay, he's been the dictator there for a number of years. So making the comparison to children, and then she's trying to equate that to be something positive for her, I guess. I don't know. It was all strange how she kind of worded that. But I mean, and how prudent and professional are you that you're saying that you're making changes and edits to your book literally hours before this book's supposed to come out? Doesn't bode very well for your conviction as a person and the strength of your book, that you're making changes because you have errors in your book literally a couple days before the book's supposed to come out. That's not a good thing.
I like it how she says, oh, well, this was brought to my attention. Hey,
brought
dummy.
to your attention. It's your book.
Stupid, it's your book.
Yes.
What do you mean it was brought to your attention? You're the one who said it. You're lying about meeting with Kim Jong-un, and then when you're called on it on national television on Face the Nation, you say, well, I'm not going to discuss my meetings with world leaders. You just did it in your book and you got caught. She is so stupid. So we're going to take a break, right? And when we come back, we're going to give you an update on the hush money trial, the witnesses that were on the stand today. I will give you an update on that. But Kristi Noem, after that whole dog controversy, because she's a puppy killer, she executed her puppy because she couldn't train the puppy properly. You would think the story would fizzle out and go away. Oh, no, it's not. Because now she's not only doubling down on it, but in her book, she's making the case about how Joe Biden's former dog, Commander, should have been put down and shot. You can't make this stuff up. We'll take some phone calls on the other side, too. 702-221-7283. Again, the number 702-221-7283. What Kristi Noem would do to Joe Biden's former dog, Commander. We'll talk about that. We'll give you an update on the Donald Trump hush money trial. And I got into a spat on social media with Chris Loesch, Dana Loesch's husband. It got personal. It has something to do with what Chris Loesch would do if he saw protesters in the middle of the road. You're not going to believe what he said, or maybe you will. We'll take calls on the other side as well. We'll be back right after this. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. You know, no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Did you know that 99% of air conditioning issues start with airflow issues? Well, guess what? Pioneer Air has your back. They've been operating for 20 years in the industry within the Las Vegas area, large enough to handle all your air conditioning and heating needs, but small enough to know your first name. Pioneer Air focuses on preventative care, much like wellness checks for humans. They believe in wellness checks for air conditioning and heating systems to extend the life of the system you own. So what are you waiting for? Schedule your wellness check with Pioneer Air today. The number to call is 702-831-4840. Here's the best news. Mention this ad and you'll receive 10% off. Call Pioneer Air today. 702-831-4840. That number again, 702-831-4840.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council. With a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen, I'm committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate, I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com or by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yousafzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and fees. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
All right, welcome back. It is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us on a beautiful Monday afternoon. Talking a little bit about Tim Scott, and want to answer a very basic question, which is, will you accept the results if Trump loses, or whichever side you're on? Will you accept the results in November? By the way, if you can't answer that basic question, you shouldn't be holding office. I'm going to be very clear on that. It doesn't matter whether you're an assembly person, a mayor, a governor, any elected official. If you can't answer a basic question like that, will you accept the results of a free and fair election? Then guess what? You should be outed from office. He's such an embarrassment. We were talking before we took a break on Kristi Noem lying about meeting Kim Jong-un and then kind of doing, I guess you could say, some sort of control of the situation by saying, well, as soon as it was brought to my attention, we edited it out, meaning I was caught in a lie, and now we're forced to leave it out of the book. Is she trying to be tough? Talking about meeting with Kim Jong-un, which she never did, that was a lie, or executing her dog, shooting her puppy in the head. I just don't understand.
The answer is yes, Brian. Yes, she's trying to act tough, and that's the whole purpose of her bringing that episode up at all.
I think you're right.
Or the alleged episode that didn't happen. Yes.
I think you're right. Yeah, it's really an embarrassment, but it gets worse now. if the dog fallout wasn't bad enough, listen to this exchange on Face the Nation with Kristi Noem, where in her book, she talks about Joe Biden's former dog, Commander.
But on this point, though, because you have been rumored to be a potential vice presidential candidate, as you know, and former House Speaker Newt Gingrich said killing the dog and then writing about it ended any possibility of her being picked as VP. You talk multiple times about it. In fact, at the end of the book, you say the very first thing you would do if you got to the White House that was different from Joe Biden is you'd make sure Joe Biden's dog was nowhere on the grounds. Commander, say hello to Cricket. Are you doing this to try to look tough? Do you still think that you have a shot at being a VP?
Well, number one, Joe Biden's dog has attacked 24 Secret Service people. So how many people is enough people to be attacked and dangerously hurt before you make a decision on a dog and what to do with it?
Well, he's not living at the White House
That's a question that the president should be held accountable to.
You're saying he should be shot?
That's what the president should be accountable to, is what is the number? And I would say about Republicans criticizing me, these are the same Republicans that criticized me during COVID. They've criticized me when I've made other decisions in South Dakota to protect.
Okay, so first of all, before we continue the clip, Kristi Noem is trying to make a comparison with COVID to executing a dog. Hey, stupid. If you don't like a dog's behavior, or if you don't like a dog, period, or the dog, as you said, is untrainable, you don't have to shoot the dog in the head. You do what a responsible human being and a caring human being would do. And what Joe Biden did, what his family did, you adopt the dog or you give the dog to others. You don't have to kill the dog. And Kristi Noem is making the case, and you hear the lady on Face the Nation saying, are you suggesting that Joe Biden should have shot the dog in the head? Can you imagine if somebody in Joe Biden's family took Commander and did what Kristi Noem did to her puppy? What Republicans would be saying about that? And yes, what she is basically saying is Joe Biden should have done to Commander what Kristi Noem did to her dog. Let's continue with the clip.
These are the same Republicans that criticized me during COVID. They've criticized me when I've made other decisions in South Dakota to protect my state. And my state today is extremely happy and thriving. We're doing well. We've got thousands of people moving to our state because they love the opportunities that are here and the businesses that have come, and how we've gotten to be a state that has one of the lowest unemployment rates in the nation. Everybody has an opportunity for higher wages.
I mean, what exactly is Kristi Noem talking about?
Well, I'll tell you, Brian, she pointing out, I'd love to fact check her on that. She said that thousands, look, I've been to South Dakota. It's a nice state. There's some landmarks in that state that are worth visiting. I've never lived there, obviously, but I would love people to fact check her regarding thousands of people moving to South Dakota. And look, I get it. She's the governor of the state, so she's going to be a proponent of the state. But I'd be curious about what the real numbers are about people that are, quote unquote, moving to South Dakota. And with respect to her comments regarding COVID-19, I mean, that's a whole, we can open that can of worms if we want to and talk about people. I mean, we've made our opinions, Brian Shapiro, you and myself, abundantly clear with respect to all things COVID-19. I wanted to listen to experts, people that know what they're talking about, public health experts, when it came to decisions being made. And I would like to think, for the most part, across the country, the decisions were made correctly by people at the time who knew what they knew.
Speaking of decisions,
so her getting on her soapbox about COVID, I guess is what I'm saying, is a little bit, kind of rich after the fact.
Speaking of decisions that were made correctly, Joe Biden and his family made the right decision with Commander. Kristi Noem is a puppy killer, is what she is. And, Joe Walsh is a personal friend of mine. We text each other a lot, and he does a phenomenal job on CNN. And once again, over the weekend, he was interviewed on CNN. Joe Walsh, a former staunch Trump supporter and Republican, and I love Joe. I just think he's the best. Here's what Joe Walsh had to say about Kristi Noem, and it's just so great. Have a listen to this.
But I also think it's a case study in where my former political party is. Look, I served with Kristi Noem She wasn't this way 8, 9, 10 years ago. Every one of my former Republican colleagues, Jessica, has learned to be like Trump, to be cruel, to lie, to never ever apologize, to never back down. She's trying to be like Trump. If I shoot my dog, if I say that Biden's dog should be shot, that's a really tough, cruel thing to say. And that's what Trump says. And that's what the Republican voters want to hear. They've all, sadly, all of my former colleagues, Jessica, have learned from Trump. They've all learned to imitate Trump because Trump's gotten away with it all these years.
So Joe Walsh is 150% correct, and this is where the Republican Party is at today. Kristi Noem is trying to be like Donald Trump, the Marjorie Taylor Greenes, the Lauren Boeberts, these types of people, and it's sick. And while all this stuff is going on, prosecutors have called witness Deborah Tarasoff on the stand in the Donald Trump hush money case as testimony resumed in this New York hush money trial. Former Trump Organization executive Jeffrey McConney was the prosecution's 10th witness, walked the jury through bank statements and documents this morning related to reimbursements to Trump's ex-personal attorney, Michael Cohen. Folks, there's a paper trail for all this stuff. The evidence is there. Prosecutors, of course, are accusing Trump of taking part in an illegal conspiracy to undermine the integrity of the 2016 election. This is also interesting to note. Earlier this morning, Judge Merchan ruled that Trump again violated his gag order for his comments about the jury. He threatened to jail Trump if he continues to violate it. So here's where I disagree with Joe Walsh a little bit, because Joe Walsh went on social media and he said these gag orders need to stop. If you send Donald Trump to jail, he will win the presidency in November. I don't necessarily agree with Joe on that. He thinks that it's a positive for Donald Trump, and this has to do with freedom of speech. And no, it doesn't. It has to do with tainting a jury, tainting a trial. You can't attack a judge. You can't attack a judge's family members, and you can't attack jurors. And here's one main reason why. And I've listened to legal scholars talk about this. If you make a statement, for example, not like he said, 95% of these jurors are left-wing Democrats, and let's just say the jury finds Donald Trump guilty of a crime, that could incite violence. And these jurors,
no question,
you're putting them in a very bad situation as far as violence could happen to them or members of their family. That's one reason. Another reason is there could be jurors out there saying, listen to what Donald Trump is saying about me. If I give you a guilty verdict, then I'm going to be accused of this, this, and this, and I don't want to put my family through that. So you're not only tainting the jury. This isn't about freedom of speech. And I want to get Joe Walsh on the show this week to talk to him about it. This isn't just about, tainting the jury. Just as important, if not more important, is the safety of the judge's daughter, of these jurors. And why is it that people don't? This isn't. I disagree with Joe. This doesn't have to do with freedom of speech. Okay, after the trial's over, he could say whatever he wants. But during the trial, you can't make the statements and that Trump has made. And do I think the judge is going to send Donald Trump to jail? Probably not. But I don't think that helps Donald Trump. I think for some of his dumb supporters, it probably would. But it's breaking a gag order after another gag order after another gag order. This doesn't just apply to Donald Trump. It applies to everybody that's on criminal trial. You can't make these kinds of statements. You could say you're innocent. You could say you think you're being treated unfairly. You could make statements like that and be the bitch that Donald Trump is every single time he walks outside the courtroom, the little bitch Donald Trump. Okay, that's what he is. You can do that. You could play that game, but you can't talk about jurors and you can't talk about members of the judge's family. Why is that so hard for people to understand? Donald Trump is not above the law. He's not above the law. And I disagree with Joe Walsh. He is not above the law, and this will not help him. So as this trial has gone on, I don't think it's gone very well for Donald Trump. I think the evidence is unsurmountable and it's overwhelming. I think he's going to be a convicted felon before the November elections. Yes, I truly believe that. And we'll have to wait and see how this plays out, Chris.
Well, a couple takes. He's facing 34, 33 criminal charges in this case alone, right? Listening to a legal expert, someone who I highly respect when it comes to all things trials and legal profession, Andrew Weissman weighed in on this last night, Brian, talking about this case. and how it could be a rapid situation, right? You kind of outlined a lot of things that are going on. And also, you pointed out Joe Walsh's comments. Look, I absolutely, positively disagree that this helps Donald Trump in any way, shape, or form. Yes, the people that are Trumpers, it's already baked in for them. They're voting for him regardless. It doesn't matter if he's convicted or not convicted. They don't care. They love Trump. They're going to vote for him. But for people who are independents and people in America who are on the fence when it comes to Donald Trump, this is absolutely going to hurt him with those voters. And that's what those voters are going to be are going to determine who wins the election in November. So Joe's just wrong if he thinks that this is going to help Donald Trump. He's not going to help him in any way at all. Okay. Now, getting back to the trial, look, Andrew Weissman pointed out the state's case, Brian Shapiro. This is not being a case that's going to drag out for months and weeks. The state, according to Andrew Weissman, okay, very respected legal scholar. He's been a prosecutor. He's been a public defender. He's been on both sides of the aisle. This case could be, the state could rest Brian Shapiro in a matter of days, like in a week and a half. So that's how fast this trial is going to move. So we're going to get a result. Then we're going to get the reaction here in the United States, and it'll be interesting to see exactly how that goes down. But make no mistake about it. And then getting back to the stuff with Trump, right, and the gag orders, Donald Trump has been given a lot of leash, a ton of rope when it comes to these types of things, because you just pointed it out. Anybody else, you, me, anybody else would have done the same thing that Trump's been doing with respect to, how he's been chirping about people around the case, would be in jail right now. Anybody else would be facing consequences.
Probably right.
But because Donald Trump's the former president of the United States, and we all have an idea and we know what Donald Trump's about. He's a guy who's, loves to fly off the handle and he loves to chirp and all this. And because he's the former president, and maybe there's a little bit of the judge not wanting to be perceived as biased, even though all you Trumpers out there and MAGA people, you're gonna think he's biased no matter what.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But he's got all kinds of rope, man. It is
No doubt.
kind of laughable,
No doubt.
How much leeway that Donald Trump gets when it comes to this gag order stuff.
Yeah, no doubt. So before I take phone calls, I want to bring one other thing up, and then we'll take some calls because we've talked about a lot, and I know a lot of people are on hold and they want to chime in. If you don't know who Dana Loesch is, she's the evil former NRA spokesperson witch. Who thinks more guns make us safer. She does a radio show, and I tried to listen to it the other day, and it's actually unlistenable. She's not funny. I don't think she's very intelligent.
I've never listened to her show ever.
It's just awful, but I'm not surprised that some of these conservative stations across the country, particularly here in Las Vegas, will play this despicable woman. Anyway, I've gotten into it with her husband before on social media, as I call him Dana Loesch's fluffer. Anyway, we'll get to that. So as you know,
well, you got to. You just said it.
Yeah, as you know, Cliff, there's been a lot of, at universities across the country. There's been a lot of, as they like to call them, pro-Palestinian protest. As I like to call them, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic idiots protesting. That's what I think many of them are. Not all of them, but many of them. So Chris Loesch takes to social media, being the dumbass that he is, and he's trying to make the case that if I see any of these people block a road, I'm going to drive right through them. Basically saying I'm going to intentionally kill people.
Commit a crime?
Yeah. Now, I don't support anybody. It could be any type of union workers or anybody, regardless of what they're saying, to block a road. I think you're breaking the law by doing so, and there could be ambulances that need to get by, medical emergencies. So I'm not defending them. But what I am saying is, you can't act as a vigilante and intentionally kill people. So let me read a little bit this for you, Chris, and then you tell me what you think about this. So Chris says, if you plant yourself on a busy road, that's not akin to suicide. They don't have to die, and I'm not going to stop. So they can kill or beat me and my family. So my response is, so you risk killing them and endorse being a vigilante. There could be kids in the crowd. There could be people that are mentally ill. And while I don't agree with anybody blocking a road, you're taking it into your own hands by killing people, and that's effing ridiculous. You are a moron. And then he responds, being the idiot that he is, and says, how do they have the right to use force to stop Jewish students from doing anything? First of all, I never said they had the right. That's a completely different conversation. If you're forcing Jewish students in a certain area, or you're physically harming them or not letting them walk, that's against the law. That has nothing to do with what Chris said. Nothing to do with that. And by the way, if they are doing that, which some of them are, which is reprehensible, that still doesn't mean I would get out my AR-15 and start shooting them or taking my car and running them over. Chris is a moron. He says the Jewish students have to suffer at the terrorist sympathizers' hands. Get the F out of here. Again, that's not what I said. Just because somebody's breaking the law, a la Kyle Rittenhouse, just because somebody's shoplifting doesn't mean you can get out your AR-15 and start shooting them. Just because people are blocking the road, which is, by the way, against the law, and I don't endorse it, that doesn't mean you can intentionally get your car and drive through them. We saw what happened in Charlottesville, didn't we? We saw a woman that was killed. Not every protester is violent. I don't condone and I don't defend anybody that blocks a public roadway, okay? So I responded in the only way that Brian Shapiro can respond, and I said, you are nothing better than a Dana Loesch fluffer. You're a never was, and you're trailer trash, and I just went on and on and on. And he said, yes, I do have sex with my wife. You got me. Let me be very clear on this. When I say he's Dana Loesch's fluffer, I'm not saying, oh, you have sex with Dana Loesch. I would imagine they do. That's not why I brought that up. I brought that up because he sits in Dana Loesch's shadows. In that case, he is a fluffer. That's who Chris Loesch is. The only reason why anybody knows who he is on social media is because of who his wife is. It's not because of anything he did. He said, I also will run over people blocking the road as protest. You don't have a right to keep me away from what I need to do or to block emergency access for others. It's dangerous and moronic. So basically,
keep me away.
Yeah. So if somebody is keeping you away from what you need to do, that gives you the right to kill people. Okay. This is who Chris Loesch is. So then I called him a fluffer again, and it's driving him absolutely crazy. And he goes,
I mean, it's that whole kind of exchange is kind of childish, to be honest.
It's a little
with you.
soft work, but I enjoy it.
I mean,
I enjoy it.
Look, to address
hold on.
Let's address
read one more.
Okay, well,
one more.
Okay,
hold on, let me just finish. He says, I believe if you are blocking a road in protest, you are endangering the lives of motorists, their passengers, the general public, and yourself. Let me just stop by saying this. Just because, in your opinion, if somebody is endangering somebody, doesn't give you the right to be a vigilante and take matters into your own hands. He goes on to say, run through the crowd if you don't want to get hit. Move out of the way. You don't have a right to be a vigilante roadblock. That's not free speech. That's blocking my ability and right of free travel. So again, there are a lot of people like the Chris Loesch's of the world who are morons, obviously not a very smart guy. And because somebody is inconveniencing you, and we're not talking about, the Rodney King riots in LA. Obviously, that was a different situation. If somebody physically assaults you, you have a right to use deadly force and defend yourself. That's not what we're talking about here. We're talking about people protesting on a road, again, which I don't condone. But Chris Loesch is saying that they could be union workers. They could be anybody. If you're impeding my way to go to work or do whatever I need to do, then I should legally have the right. He's not even saying that. He's just saying, I'm going to run through you in my car. How can anybody be okay with this logic? How can anybody be okay with this? So obviously I'm going after him for these moronic comments. And sadly, Chris does have a platform because of who his wife is. And this is incitement of violence. This is the type of language that should be off X because it's incitement of violence. You're saying it's okay to plow your car through a bunch of people that are protesting in a road. And as much as I hate the road, people blocking a road, and while that's against the law, it doesn't give you the right, Chris, to be a vigilante.
Yeah, so look, here's the deal. So you're telling me that a family member of some right-wing talk show host is trying to be a tough guy. That's all that is. It's exactly the same thing we talked about with Kristi Noem when she's bringing up Kim Jong-un, right? And an alleged interaction with Kim Jong-un. It's the exact same thing. He's just trying to portray himself as a tough guy. And I mean, I don't know who Chris Loesch is. I've never met the guy. He's essentially just like the everyman or the everywoman that's on social media. That's where we are in the world today, where everybody's got a voice because of social media, and because of places like X, places like Facebook, places like even that garbage social media network that Trump is on. I mean, everyone's got a voice and is able to spew their idiocy, and him saying that you're just going to run somebody over because they're inconveniencing you. is absurd and ridiculous, and
Well-
doesn't have any. I mean, it's complete nonsense. I don't
Well,
even know
let's see
why.
what, let's
It's
see
not even.
what-
It's not. To be honest with
let's
you,
see
Brian,
what-
it's not even worth discussing.
Let's see
I
what
mean,
you
just, yeah.
let's see what you think out there. 702-221-7283 and the number to call again if you want to be a part of the conversation.
I mean, he's a nobody. Nobody knows who the guy is. So I don't know.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Patrick. Patrick is first on Pushing the Limits.
Brian, good afternoon, sir. Earlier, you did make a comment regarding this trial here that overwhelming amount of evidence, and as discussed last week, CNN did report that there is, of all the witnesses called in the recent weeks, there has been no direct involvement with Trump on the payments.
And again, you
remaining-
didn't correlate who exactly. We had this discussion the other day, and you couldn't come up with any evidence of the person who made that specific statement. So I'm not going to address that with you. What else would you like to talk
I
about?
posted it on your Twitter. It's there. It was
I
a
don't
CNN
care.
panel.
I don't care what
I
you
don't
posted
listen
on my
to
Twitter. I'm not interested in you claiming that one person on CNN. Like I said, Jake Tapper said you're an idiot, so I can post that on social
But
media.
I'll
as
ask
well.
you straight up, Patrick. So you don't think there's any you don't think there's you know where there's smoke, there's fire. You don't think you just think that he's innocent and that he had no involvement whatsoever. I'm asking it's a simple question.
And nobody has any evidence that he was directly involved in any of this.
Okay, so let's
He's
go with
being
that.
charged. Hey, wait, no,
All this
time out.
overwhelming
He's
evidence,
being
what
charged
is-
with 34 criminal counts in this case alone. What are you talking about? They
So that's
brought
your
it's
basis
been
of
brought
him
to
being
trial.
guilty, is that there's
No.
a lot of
Nope.
indictments?
So Patrick, so
No,
I've
it's
been,
not indictments.
No,
They're
hold on.
charges.
Okay, so hold on.
It's not indictments anymore,
Okay.
Patrick. I don't know if you know anything about the law, but it's not indictments
he doesn't.
anymore.
But Patrick-
it's actually a trial now.
Patrick, I'm
Yeah.
happy to talk
They're actual
about
charges that are being
Patrick,
that he's being charged with.
Patrick. I'm happy
So,
to talk.
Very basic stuff. Not hard to figure out.
Patrick,
Yeah.
I'm happy to talk. Patrick, I'm happy to talk about a little bit of the evidence with you. And you can tell me if this isn't any evidence at all. You have the fixer Michael Cohen who went to jail for this. Michael Cohen is. Let me finish. Let me finish. Let me finish. I'm not done, and then you can. I'm not done. Hey, Patrick, get the MAGA wax out of your ears for a moment, and then I will let you respond. Okay? You have the head of the Patrick, I need you to be quiet now. This is the time where you need to be quiet, or I'm going to have to put you in the corner. Okay? So, Patrick.
Okay.
Thank you, Patrick. So, the head of the National Enquirer already took the stand, talking about how they put this story and tried to put it to bed. Not because it was a family issue and that he cared so much about Melania and his kids. It was for one reason and one reason only. And he said this on the stand. It was about winning the 2016 election. So you have other witnesses that are going to testify, including Stormy Daniels and, of course, Michael Cohen and others that are all testifying. And if you find one right-wing MAGA supporter that might have made a statement on CNN and you characterize it as CNN is saying that there's no evidence, that is not factually accurate. There's always going to be people like you that are going to not actually look at the evidence, and you don't know what you're talking about, and you're going to make a gross assumption that these, as Chris pointed out, these 34 felony counts were just made up out of thin air, and there's no evidence. Witness after witness after witness is testifying that Donald Trump wanted to put this story to bed because of the 2016 elections that were a few weeks later. Now, if you don't have a problem with that and you don't think Donald Trump did anything wrong, okay, that's your opinion. You're entitled to your opinion. But to say that there's absolutely no evidence in this case and there's no there is ridiculous.
There's no quote from any of the witnesses that have linked him directly to the payment, to the crime.
What are you talking about? The guy from the National Enquirer who took the stand was in a meeting with him and Michael Cohen and said on the stand to the contrary of what you were saying, that this was a direct payment. There's audio that Michael Cohen, do you know that Michael Cohen, you don't even know this. There's an audio recording that Michael Cohen took with Donald Trump talking about this payment. They played it in a courtroom. You have no idea what you're talking about, Patrick. Okay, so Patrick, let me ask you a question. If Patrick, let me ask you a question. If Patrick, he ends up being convicted of a felony, will you accept that? Will you say, geez, I was wrong? If Donald Trump is not convicted of a felony and he's cleared on all of these charges, then I will go on the air and say, okay, we need to move on there. He did not do any criminal wrongdoing according to a jury. I'll be happy to say that, even though he's going to have 60 other felonies that he's facing and 3 other criminal cases.
There's some other trials that are about to go on.
But
too.
are you going to be willing to do the same,
You
Patrick?
don't talk about the Willis
Patrick,
Fannie Willis trial anymore, do you?
No, I'm not talking about the Fannie Willis thing because the trial's not happening right now,
It's
dummy.
not going on.
Dummy, the trial's not happening right now. I'm
Pretty
talking
simple
about
stuff.
Patrick. The trial,
And
the
how's
hush
Jack
money
Smith
trials
doing
have.
for you?
Hey, Patrick, when that other case is going on, I'll talk about it. Right now, we're talking about the hush money case. So focus for a second, Patrick. I want you to answer a question for me. If in fact a jury of Donald Trump's peers,
It makes no difference to me, Brian.
it doesn't. Okay,
You don't have
then
to
your opinion
talk
makes
for a
no.
minute.
Then your opinion makes no difference to me. Have a nice day, jackass. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. You know, here I am on the air, Chris, and I think you would agree with
we're
me on
on the
this,
air, yeah.
saying that if Donald Trump is found innocent on all charges, I'll be happy to go on the air and say, hey, there was no criminal wrongdoing according to a jury. We need to move on. Let's talk about these other cases coming up. But on the other
Makes
hand,
sense.
on the other hand, Patrick is asked that same question with the MAGA wax in his ear, the bird for brain, Patrick.
Makes no difference to me.
Makes no difference to me. Then why am I even taking your call, you MAGA fool? How stupid could you be?
Chap, you're the one asking the question.
Must have gone to Trump University.
You just asked the hype.
Listen, for Patrick, it's either one of two things.
Yeah.
Either he got his education from Trump University or he was homeschooled by Kristi Noem. It's one or the other. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Roy. Roy is next up on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Roy?
Hey, how you doing?
Good.
Oh, it's hard to believe when people like Patrick call in and say what he says. Donald Trump has been getting away with crime his entire life. And now it's coming home to roost a little bit. And if the damn Supreme Court did what they should do, he'd have more trials this year. Keep something in mind. If Kristi Noem became the vice presidential candidate, we could have Dumb and Dumber Part 2.
Who do you think is more stupid, Kristi Noem or Lauren Boebert? I mean, I don't even know.
I don't know. I got to throw Marjorie Taylor Greene into that group.
It's tough to go scoreboard on intelligence, Brian. When it comes to that, we don't.
Right
who knows?
there.
Yeah, who knows?
That's a trifecta.
Yeah.
Keep something in mind. There are only 900,000 people who live in South Dakota.
Yeah.
Maybe
exactly.
they don't have a dentist.
Yeah.
Maybe they don't have a dentist.
That's
They elected
possible.
Kristi-
Maybe they don't. By the way, the looks of some of these Donald Trump supporters, I don't know, in Middle America, they could use dentists. That's all I'll say. I'll to that one.
Yeah, I get it. You know, I have 5 dogs, all rescue,
Mm-hmm.
and they're trained. You work with them, you train them, and they become part of your family.
Right.
It's mind-boggling to me that someone could actually do what she did. I think that be better off.
And
if
she's
someone
not
would
only
take her out of the yard.
Roy.
Shoot her in the head.
Roy, she's not. Well, I'm not going to endorse that, but Roy, she's not only doubling down on it, but she's also making the claim in her book that commanders should have been shot. I mean, it's just, and she's on national television lying about meeting Kim Jong-un, and then when she's called out on it, she says, well, it was brought to my attention, as if she had nothing to do with it. The stupid woman. Anyway,
Roy, this is the MAGA playbook, man. This is what they do. Double, triple, quadruple down, never apologize for anything. It's a viewpoint and a way that they operate. It's a standard operating procedure for all things MAGA. And for people that still, like Kristi Noem, still maybe she still believes that she has a snowball chance in hell of being the vice presidential nominee. I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, if she and Roy pointed this out. Look, Kristi Noem, she's a politician. You're a politician, and you're very bad at playing politician. She's terrible at it because you keep bringing this issue to the forefront in which you are getting destroyed.
I'll take it a step further.
Absolutely slaughtered.
I'll take it a step further. She's not just a terrible politician. I think she's a terrible person. Anybody that claims that a dog is untrainable, that I'm going to take the puppy in the backyard and shoot the puppy in the head, you're just a terrible person.
Yeah.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Joseph. Joseph is next on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Joe?
Yeah, hey, Brian. First of all, hearing about that previous caller makes me think that he is stupid, just like Kristi Noem and Donald Trump were.
Yeah.
Not to mention all that stuff he's saying. I don't know where he got it from, but he probably got it from Trump's university for stupid people, that's my guess.
It's 5 minutes we can't get back, right, caller? That's we can't get that time back. That phone call.
And not to mention all that Kristi Noem is doing, like you say, she's trying to be like Donald Trump. She's probably shot her dog because she's trying to send a message to kids who are dog owners that they better treat their dogs, train their dogs, or she's going to have some firing squad on those dogs, and she don't care.
I'm just wondering, and I know I'm going in circles here, but I'm just wondering, when you're a governor of a state and you're a prominent person and you write a book and you're willing to put in your book that you met with Kim Jong-un, not realizing that people are going to fact check you on that if you never met him, and yet you put it in your book anyway.
Yeah.
You have to be a certain special type of stupid human being. That's all I'm saying. I mean, has she ruined her political career? There's probably many MAGA morons that would still vote for her. But I mean, how dumb of an individual do you have to be to put some of this stuff in your book? It's incredible.
And speaking of that, I think it was Tim Scott, was it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Tim Scott. The reason why he's saying all this stuff, he doesn't want to say that he just wants to be like Trump, as well, because he doesn't care if Joe Biden wins. He still wants to see Trump create more political violence on his opponent.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
That's the problem.
That's the problem. Is these people, they don't care. They just care about their own power in politics. They only care about themselves. And not just to be politicians. I mean, Mike Lindell started associating himself with Donald Trump because he thought it would have helped his company. And now look at what's happened. He can't even pay rent for many of the warehouses out there. You look at somebody like a Rudy Giuliani and a Sidney Powell and a Michael Cohen, all these people that have surrounded themselves around Donald Trump. Not only are their careers down the toilet, some of them are convicted felons. You think of Mr. Navarro, who is now behind bars. He's in jail right now eating grilled cheese off the radiator. That's a little Sopranos thing for Chris Wynn there.
You've got Rudy Giuliani, whose reputation has been completely slaughtered because of his association with Donald Trump. Rudy used to be America's mayor.
Yeah.
He used to be very renowned across the board, regardless of politics.
Right.
And now he's just completely destroyed it. There's been a number of people, right, Brian, and to the caller, that have soiled their reputations because of their association with our former president of the United States. And talking about people saying like Tim Scott wants to be like Trump. I don't know why people want to be like Trump. So you want to be a guy that just loses elections now? Every election? You lose midterms. You lose, the 2020 election.
Yeah.
He's lost every single election since he got lucky. He pulled an inside straight in 2016 and won the election. Mm-hmm. All right? He won it. But let's not go crazy. And you had all the people out there that were, I told you so. I told you so. All you Democrats are wrong. All you lefties are wrong. Donald Trump won. Okay, so he won in 2016. But what has he done since? All he's done is lose every single election, and Republicans have underperformed in every election. Yeah, well, so why do you want to emulate that? Why would you want to be like that, Tim Scott?
Well, if you ask Tim
Kristi Noem,
if you ask Tim Scott or Kristi Noem,
because they want the few MAGA voters, and when I say few, I'm talking about millions, but fewer than what would entail independents and Democrats and the majority of the country. It's few compared to that, and they just want to kowtow to the MAGA portion of the Republican Party.
And I got to say this before we get back to the calls, and we have to take a break, and then we'll get back to the calls on the other side. But I do want to say this. I hear from certain people. They say we stopped listening to one another with our disagreements. We stopped having conversations and trying to understand one another. That might be true to an extent, but let me tell you something. When a conversation starts with any of these things, Donald Trump won the 2020 election. I can't have a conversation with you. I can't have a reasonable conversation with you, right? Or Joe Biden has Alzheimer's. He's in the bunker. Those types of things. Or transgenders are so horrible, and gay people are they're terrible for society, indoctrinating our kids. When you have those kinds of views, I refuse to listen to you. I've just stopped talking to those people. I can't have conversations with those kinds of people. And we're going to have the Attorney General, Aaron Ford, in studio on Wednesday. And he indicted and charged 5 prominent people, including the Nevada Republican chair, the Clark County Republican chair, and 3 others, with an alleged fake electorate scheme. And I want to ask Aaron Ford when he comes in studio Wednesday about that case. And I also want to ask him, as a black man living in this country, How did it feel to you to know that your Republican opponent that ran against you in 2022 said you should be hanging from a crane? It wasn't a Democrat that said that. It was a radical MAGA Republican that said that. By the way, her name is Sigal Chada. These are who the radical right are today. This is who they are. There are radicals on the left as well. I've called out Ilhan Omar for her despicable comments. I've called out Rashida Tlaib for their takes on Israel, not necessarily for their opinions on the Israeli government, but the things they've said. But most of this is coming from the far right, not the far left, ladies and gentlemen. And it's a frustration that, so no, I went to a political event last week and I spoke for about 10, 15 minutes. And people asked me at this event, have we stopped listening to one another? I said, no, it's not that we necessarily have stopped listening to one another. It's that you can't have a reasonable conversation with somebody that says the earth is flat or that the sky is pink. We can disagree on policy. We can disagree on some of the policies that you might not like in the Biden administration or the Trump administration. That's fine. But I had a conversation with someone who I respect very much yesterday. Very intelligent guy. And he's like, oh, I'm anti-Joe Biden. I said, why? He's too old. And I said to this guy, I said, you think Donald Trump is competent? We can come up with, people have come up with YouTubes and videos of Donald Trump. Sounds like he's a senile old man. And I try to, but I had a respectful conversation with him. He didn't call Joe Biden a pedophile. He wasn't, he says, yeah, Joe Biden won a free and fair election. But I tried to get inside his head a little bit. And really what it came down to is this: he doesn't like either candidate. And I said, well, listen, you can dislike both candidates, but I'm still going with Joe Biden because I care about our democracy. And that's where we had a disagreement. So there are certain people that I can have conversations with that I disagree with. I do it on this show all the time, Chris. But there are certain people that I really can't.
Well, I'll respond to that point, Brian. There's people in this country and people who are, quite frankly, friends of ours that you'll have this conversation with. Mm-hmm. And when you bring up the binary choice, right, of Joe Biden against Donald Trump, they just want to act like Donald Trump doesn't exist. They just want to act like he's not even a part of the picture. Let's like Gilbert Gottfried and, Beverly Hills Cop when it came to the parking tickets. You know what I mean?
Sure.
He's like, we'll put this over here. We won't even talk about this.
Yeah.
It's a binary election.
Right.
It's a decision between Donald J. Trump, the former president, mm-hmm. and the current president, Joe Biden. And they'll say something, derogatory about Joe Biden, right? That he's old, that, there's no way he's going to make it through another term, things like that. And then you bring up, but you know what that means, right? That means you want Donald Trump to be the president, right? Because Donald Trump's going to be the other choice.
Right.
That's the reality of the situation that we're facing. And they just want to ignore it. I mean, and that's the way they operate. They just want to talk about the negatives that they perceive Joe Biden to have. And look, we agree. I've talked about this. You talk about it all the time, Brian. Joe Biden, yes, he's not a young guy, okay? But if you're giving me a choice about who should be the president of the United States, and look, everybody knows I'm a Democrat out there. You all know I'm on the left. So I have all kinds of criticisms for Donald Trump across the board. I don't need to reiterate all of them. But given the choice, I'm taking Joe Biden every day and twice on Sunday, okay? And there's a number of reasons for that, again, that I don't need to get into. But anytime I talk to a Trump supporter here in Vegas, talk to any, if I'm in Florida or if I'm in Massachusetts, wherever I'm at, I talk to them. They just do not want to even bring up Donald Trump necessarily, unless they're lying about Donald Trump, right? Unless they're saying, well, he's great for he was one of the best presidents we've ever had. Complete nonsense. Okay, utter nonsense. Not based in reality whatsoever. Yeah. That he was one of the best presidents ever. He's in fact one of the worst. Okay, and they'll want to, if they do talk about Trump, they'll want to talk about him in glowing terms, right? But in most cases, when you do have that conversation, Brian Shapiro, when you do talk to these people and they start off the conversation by saying Joe Biden's old or Joe Biden is senile, or Joe Biden's going to die next month, or have a stroke next month, or a medical episode in the next, before the guy even gets elected the second time. And then you say, okay, so that means Donald Trump's going to be the president. It's like church mice, okay? It is pure silence.
No doubt.
And it's just, so again, it's a very tough situation to deal with.
Yeah.
From a logical standpoint,
no doubt.
dealing with these people.
I'm with you. I agree. All right, so I know we have people that have been waiting patiently on hold. I'll get to some more phone calls on the other side. If you support what I do, and I would hope that you do, then we also want you, of course, to support our wonderful sponsors, and one of those is Pioneer Air. They've been around since the 1930s. With summer right around the corner, it's getting a little hot outside. You want to make sure your air conditioning system is ready to go. And just like an oil change, you need scheduled maintenances on your air conditioning systems. Guess what? If you call Pioneer Air right now and you mention the name of this show, you're going to get a $150 free value, free checkups of your air conditioning systems for up to a year. You're going to get a VIP year-long service if you call them right now. 702-703-6346. Again, that number, write it down, 702-703-6346. Mention the name of the show. You're going to get scheduled maintenances for free for up to a year, a dedicated hotline, repair discounts, and extended warranties. Pioneer Air, 702-703-6346. We're going to get to your phone calls coming up on the other side of the break, and any updates in the Donald Trump hush money case, we're going to bring that to you coming back next. You're listening to Pushing the Limits right here on KSHP.
My name is Hunter Kane, and I'm talking with you for a call to action for our veterans in Clark County. Who is Hunter Kane? Well, I'm a decorated combat veteran, veteran community leader, and candidate for Clark County Commission. Do you know no veteran has served on the commission in nearly 30 years, which is why our veteran homelessness, unemployment, and suicide rates are out of control. So here's the call to action. June 11th, vote veteran, vote Kane for Clark County. Let's rally behind someone who's been in the trenches, who knows the sacrifices, and who's committed to making a real difference. Join the campaign by searching Elect Hunter Kane on social media, or go to www.electhunterkane.com.
Residents of Las Vegas Ward 5, are you ready for a brighter future? I would like to introduce myself, Dr. Erica Smith, your people's choice for City Council, with a vision for progress and the fortitude to make it happen. I am committed to moving us forward. I am not just a candidate. I am a fighter for you. With myself on the City Council, you can expect a real change and a community that thrives. Vote for Dr. Erica Smith, because together we're building a better tomorrow. To learn more about me and my campaign, go to www.ericaforlasvegas.com, paid for by the Vote Dr. Smith Committee.
Voters want safe gun reform, ban military assault weapons, including AR-15s, have universal background checks, and red flag laws. I am Eva Chase, a candidate for Nevada State Assembly District 16, U.S. Air Force veteran, college graduate, progressive independent candidate, fully transitioned transgender woman, former lieutenant governor candidate for Nevada in 2022, where I received 7,212 votes in the Democratic primary. Follow me on Facebook, X, Instagram, TikTok. Donate to my campaign bot fund account and stay progressive.
Hey, everybody, are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premier Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is. Because why be a sub when you can be a hero? Stallone's Italian Eatery is here to serve you phenomenal food, Vegas. Forget about it.
Who would have thought there'd be so many kids playing ice hockey in the desert? Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, founded by Gina Yusufzai 8 years ago, made it possible for families who can't afford the equipment and food. Donate today at www.hockeyforkids.org and help us continue making a difference. Join us in supporting Jake Helps Hockey Foundation and the Las Vegas Ice Warriors, where every kid gets a shot at the starting line. Just a reminder, our website is www.hockeyforkids.org.
Is your dog suffering from a sensitive stomach? Hi, it's Kelly the Cookie Lady from Mooch's Munchies. Our dogs had super sensitive tummies, and I needed to find a low-fat treat that wouldn't give them gas or other issues. Most of the treats on the market were loaded with fillers, chemicals, and chicken fat. Many of them weren't even food. Well, I knew I could do better, so I developed Mooch's Munchies, and I'm happy to be able to share them with you. Stop by our store or our website, moochesmunchies.com, and find out why we say that Mooch's Munchies are totally pawsome.
Back, it is Pushing the Limits on a Monday. Thank you so much for joining us. We also hope that you'll join us, because I'm there and Chris is there regularly. Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Man, they got some great slot promotions this month in May, including if you have a TAM card. Chris, do you have your TAM card?
Absolutely. You have
Well,
to
guess
to
what?
work in the service industry in Nevada.
Well, guess what, Chris?
What?
I have some good news for you.
What's that?
If you show your TAM card tomorrow and any Tuesday in May, you will immediately get $50 in free slot play.
Are you serious?
Yes, I am serious.
Tomorrow?
Yes, that's right. So I guess we're going to Jackson's tomorrow, Chris.
I'm going to go get my Jackson's ribeye, Brian Shapiro, play a little Keno, 4-card.
That's right.
Man Keno.
So check 'em
Maybe
out.
some Poker Deluxe.
So check them out. Good promotion.
Come on now.
Jackson's Bar and Grill, located at Flamingo and Jones. Show your TAM card. Show your TAM card, everybody, in May on Tuesdays, and you will get $50 in free slot play. Welcome back to the show. We also hope that you subscribe to my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show, so you can see all the spats I get into with people on social media. It's funny because I asked a friend of mine, Danny Negreanu, who, if you're a poker fan, you know he's one of the best poker players in the world, has been for 20-plus years, great guy. And I asked him for his pick on the Vegas Golden Knights game the other day, and I said, hey, who do you think is going to win tonight? What's your read? And he responded by saying, my read is that you're going to get into a fight on Twitter today. That was the way he responded.
Hey,
I thought that
fair point right there.
I said it's a very, very good read.
He's pretty much spot on in that.
Yeah. So we got a lot of
but
people.
But by the way, what was his pick though? Did he give you a pick?
No, he said he
didn't
wasn't
give you
sure.
one?
No,
Okay.
he didn't have one.
Because you took Dallas last night. So
I did.
Which is a winner.
I did.
Yeah.
Quick update on the hush money trial. So as I mentioned, Deborah Tarasoff, who works in the Trump Organization's accounting department, concluded her testimony recently. And people like Patrick, who don't think there's really any evidence in the case because one MAGA buffoon on CNN.
It's a nothing burger, Brian.
Yeah.
You know that?
Well, guess what she did today, Chris?
What?
She testified about how checks were paid to Trump's ex-fixer, Michael Cohen, in 2017. But here's where it gets really bad for Trump, because apparently any invoices over $10,000 have to be approved by Donald Trump. She said that with Trump right there. Apparently, she helped to arrange for Cohen to be reimbursed for Stormy Daniels' $130,000 hush money payment at the heart of the case. But hey, that's not evidence, right? Here's someone who ran the Trump Organization who's saying Donald Trump had to approve this payment. Anything over $10,000. This was a $130,000 payment. But no, that's not evidence at all. Right, MAGA?
Yeah.
Right, MAGA world? Holy smokes. All right, let's get to the phone calls, Chris. What do you say? 702. Let's get back to it. A lot of people have been waiting patiently on hold. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Carl. Carl, what's going on?
Yeah, hey, Chris, Brian. Patrick, let me inform you on one thing. He was the only one in the history of the Trump University who flunked out.
Probably. Probably. Hard to
Think
do.
about that.
Yeah,
Think
probably.
about it. Okay, listen, yeah. You were talking about Scott when you first came on. You got to understand about this, why he won't answer any questions. Donald Trump, when he first was sworn in as president, his first term, he staged a televised event where he asked each cabinet member if they would be loyal to him. I don't know if you remember. And the FBI director then, at the time, I think his name was Comey, he says, I'll be loyal to the Constitution.
I remember.
Well, he was fired right away.
Yeah, well, James Comey
for
is a
that.
clown anyway. What he did in
Well, I know.
2016 with the Hillary Clinton stuff. You know, Bill Maher made a really good point about this. Why is it that Democrats always put Republicans in those kinds of positions. I mean, I've really had it. They're always Republicans. And you could make the argument that Comey actually costed Hillary Clinton the 2016 election with what he did.
It was definitely a factor,
Yeah,
right? It was.
yeah.
I mean, look, there was a number of reasons why she lost, but it was definitely something that comes into play.
Definitely one of them, Carl, and I appreciate your phone call, my friend. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Carl.
702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Sue. Sue is next up on PTL. What's up, Sue?
Yeah, I just got a couple things to say.
Sure.
About Trump and his court.
Yeah.
He just needs they need to quit popping him in the mouth and just send him to his room.
Well,
right? They're using kid gloves, right?
Yeah,
that's what they're doing.
So there are.
She's talking about you're talking about all the stuff with the gag order.
Yeah.
Stuff?
So Sue, here's the thing, and I don't know if you agree with this or not, but there are some people in the media that feel like if you do send him to jail, he'll win the election because of that. That there are a lot of people that are going to look at him as now I won't, but there's a lot of people that are going to look at him as some sort of victim, and that. And by the way, there are some anti-Trumpers out there, like my friend Joe Walsh, who feels like if you send him to jail, it's going to backfire and it could help him win. How do you feel about that?
Well, people in the right mind won't vote for him.
Yeah,
I agree with that, but there are intelligent people that I disagree with that hate Joe Biden so much that they're still willing to back Donald Trump. I don't understand it, but I'm worried. I'm not going to sit here and take this for granted and like I did in 2016. I got to tell you, I'm worried. I'm worried about November. Do I still think Joe Biden's going to win? Yes, but I'm worried. Every day goes by, I get more and more worried.
I am too. The more I watch TV, the more scared I get.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you, I was 67 years old when I found out that Indiana was a red state, and I'm embarrassed.
Yeah. Well, I talk about this with Republicans a lot, and I try to dissect their brain, and I do this all the time. And I asked them, I said, what do Republicans stand for right now in 2024? Banning books, how bad drag queens are indoctrinating our children, how bad teachers are, more guns make us safer, let's arm our kindergarten teachers, let's force a woman what to do with her own body. I don't know what Republicans stand for, other than what I just mentioned. It's culture wars, what bathroom a transgender is going in. I mean, they're obsessed with this stuff. And then they want to complain about the border 24/7. But then when they have a bill put forth on the table that could actually help that situation, they vote against it because they listen to what Donald Trump tells them to do. I guess they're all for executing puppies and shooting them in the head. Like, I don't know what these people stand for anymore.
I don't either.
Yeah. Well,
caller, you don't have to be embarrassed. You don't have to be embarrassed about being from Indiana. Okay, I'm from the state. My home state of Michigan. Went to Trump in 2016. I wasn't happy about it, but I'm not embarrassed because I'm a Michigander. It's just yes, there's just too many people out there that do not want to be based in reality. There's just too many of them.
I agree, but I will say this though, because I have to take at least one cheap shot here at Chris, because I haven't done that yet. I don't know why, but Chris should not be embarrassed.
Well, you don't have to.
Chris should not be embarrassed for being from Michigan. Chris should be embarrassed for being Chris. Let's just leave it at that. Okay, fair enough.
Hey, to the caller, the comedy show, the Brian Shapiro comedy show is not going anywhere.
Hey, I got her to laugh.
He's not going to get. Yeah,
I got her to laugh. That's all that matters. I made her day.
She's laughing, Brian, because she feels bad for you trying to make a joke.
Is that why? Is that why you laugh? Be
that was
honest.
terrible.
Do you feel bad for me? Be honest.
Yes, she does.
Well,
you feel for him.
Exactly. Thank you for calling in. I appreciate you. And
Thanks,
just vote. Get to the voter booth. Vote in November, and I think we're going to be okay. Thank you for the call.
I will. Thanks,
all right,
honey.
you take care, dear. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. Let's go to Nellie. Nellie is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Nellie.
Hey, Brian and Chris Wynn, my favorite people in the world.
Nice. What's up, Nellie?
Hey, Brian, do you hate America?
That's a weird question.
Well, that's a really stupid question.
What?
But I will answer.
Of course not.
But I will answer your stupid question. And I'm not surprised that somebody like you would start off a phone call with saying something so ignorant as you did. So let me be very
I
clear.
have other questions.
There's
but
probably no other country I'd rather live in the world. There are some great countries out there, but I am proud to be an American. I am very sad at the state of affairs, and we have a lot of problems in this country right now, but we still have more freedoms than most other countries in the world. So yes, I am proud to be an American, and I am happy to be in this country. And for somebody to say or make a conclusion that I might hate the country because I call out Donald Trump and I call things out as I see it is a little bit absurd. But I hope I answered your very stupid question.
Well, and I have, one other question.
Okay, I hope it's a little better. I hope it's
No,
a
but
little better.
why did you ask the question though? There's got to be a reason
Have
why
I
you
said-
asked that question.
There's a reason.
Yeah.
Because
what's the reason?
Joe Biden's his interest rates for home mortgages. Are you aware of what they are right now?
Okay, so
But what does that have to do
let's
with?
go-
What does that
hold on.
coincide
Yeah.
with
Because
Brian hating
this
the
is
country though? I don't understand.
destroying America.
Okay, so because you don't
Okay, so
like,
your point is that Joe Biden.
so because you don't like one of Joe Biden's policies, and I might disagree with you on policy, you would conclude or ask the question
It's
if I
over
hate
7%,
America.
Brian.
So
It's over 7%.
Okay, so I'll
Support
repeat what
this
I just said.
president.
So I'll repeat what I just said because I don't think you heard me. Because we might disagree on one of Joe Biden's policies, you would make a conclusion that I might hate America. Do you realize how stupid you sound? Okay, ask your next question
Yeah,
because
I
it's
think
ridiculous.
that was a yes. I think you
Yes.
said
Okay,
yes.
ask your next stupid question.
Okay, and
Go
the
ahead.
final one. Okay, you always talk about books that are being banned.
Mm-hmm.
What books are being banned that you always cry about? I see a physical tear in your eye.
So here's what I would like you to do. So here's
There's probably a list down in
Yes,
Florida.
there
right?
is. There
Name
is.
one book that is
Okay,
being banned.
so Mark, here's what I would like you to do, and you could answer your own
It is
question.
Nelly, by the way.
Okay, here's what I would like you to do, and then you can answer
Name
your own
me
question.
one book.
Are you going to let me answer, or are you going to be obnoxious
Yeah,
and
yes,
keep
of course.
interrupting me? Okay, thank you. That's very nice of you to not interrupt me after you ask me a question on my own show. Very cordial of you. Thank you so much, Nelly. So there are literally hundreds of books in Florida that have been banned. All you have to do is go on a Google search and read and type in books that were banned in Florida, okay? And then you could look up the list. I don't memorize books that are banned in Florida
Or
but I-
Georgia, or
yeah,
South
yeah.
Carolina,
All you have to
Brian,
do
or
is
any other state.
As
Yeah.
a
Nelly.
enlightened-
Yes.
But as an enlightened host, you should name at least one book, Brian.
Do you know why?
Enlightened what is he talking about?
Do you know why?
Enlightened host.
Do you know
Name
why?
one book.
Do you know
Yeah,
why?
name one
I'll
book.
tell you why I can't name one specific book that was banned. I'll tell you
Name
why.
one book.
Because unlike some people that watch Matt Walsh all day long and obsess over transgenders and stuff, I wonder who that could be because it's not me and it's
Shocker,
not Chris.
shocker.
Okay. I don't
Name one
waste
book.
I'm answering your question. I don't waste my time in memorizing books that were banned because guess what? I don't care. Bottom line is people that are banning these types of books, they're into the culture wars like you, okay? Like you.
So what book is it?
Nilly, time out. What's your end game here?
Yeah.
So if he mentions one book, then you're just going to be content.
Yeah,
That's
I don't
even know-
understand.
You just
Books
wanted
are
to
being
mention one
banned.
book. What is your point though of the question? It doesn't.
Yeah,
make
what's
any
your
sense.
point?
The point is you don't know what the books are.
So because
who gives a damn?
because I
Nobody
don't know
cares.
because I don't know a title of a book.
It's still the books are still getting banned. It doesn't matter if we don't I don't know
But you know
I
what
don't
the
know
books
any
are?
of the books that are banned. I honestly off the top of
So-
my head.
so Nelly,
I can't think of any.
what
difference does it make? Who
So
cares?
I just did a Google search
Okay.
in
Okay,
5 seconds during this phone
And
call.
so he's gonna name a title, Millie. He's gonna name a
of
title
a bunch
for you.
of books that have been banned by a bunch of authors.
I can't wait to hear it.
Okay, collections available for self-reading. Amy Poehler, Facing Adversity, Shelley Sandberg and Adam Grant, Eat, Play, Love by Elizabeth Gilbert, Friday Night Lights by A.G. Basinger, The Gift of Forgiveness by Katherine Schwarzenegger. Now, listen, I can waste listeners' time because you're clearly very
can.
good at that, okay? But I could name you hundreds of more books in a 5-second Google search. Who are you voting for president, by the way, Nellie? Because you sound like a Trump-supporting idiot. Who are you supporting for president? Why don't you answer my
RFK
questions
all
now?
the way.
Why don't you answer my
RFK
question?
all
Oh, there it is. There it is.
Yeah, that's a great pick. Yeah, RFK, you conspiracy theorist buffoon. Hey,
Thank
how
you
many
for taking
hours
my
a day?
time.
How many hours a day do you listen to Matt Walsh? Be honest. Don't lie to us. You subscribe to Matt Walsh?
Well,
you're all of a sudden you have a Joe Biden stutter now. How many hours a day do you watch Matt Walsh? Why don't you answer my question?
Well, I don't have the exact hours, but
Yeah.
RFK out of the way.
Yeah.
I love the show. Keep on
RFK,
doing what you're doing.
RFK
Thank you very
all
much.
the way. Yeah, I bet you've never let a woman get to all the way, have you, buddy? RFK.
Nilly's going to check out some
RFK
YouTube Matt Walsh action, and
Name
I think Odin's Men has a new video coming out too. Also,
you really got. Hey, Nell, you really got me there. I just did a 10-second Google
Hey,
search.
Brian Shapiro, you didn't know any titles of any books right off the top of your head.
Yeah.
You're not a quote-unquote enlightened radio host because you
I think
don't have books off the top of your
I
head
think RFK,
that are banned in
RFK
Florida.
Jr. would say that the boosters that guy took has made him stupid. 702-221-7283. Let's go to Julian. Julian is next up on Pushing the Limits. What's up, Julian?
Julian, what's up?
Hey, before I get to my main point, I can give you another book that was banned, but it was out of malicious compliance. The Bible. Utah and Florida had to make adjustments to their laws because basically some people who saw that it was bullshit, that it was dumb, push for that. But back to the prior discussion, I think it's Republicans they want power above all else, and they are willing to sign up with Donald Trump or do whatever is necessary. It doesn't matter the hypocrisy. They'll defend their own. Whereas like Democrats, when they've had bad actors within their own, they either force them out or let justice take its toll. You know, we've seen that with Al Franken, who was forced out, Anthony Weiner, John Edwards. There are a decent number where just like when the law gets involved with various Democrats, they just say, okay, they do not meet our standards, push them out of our party.
Yeah.
Like, it's that simple. And I think another example of cognitive dissonance, Brian, is your friend, the former is Mr. Lee, the former mayor of North Las Vegas.
Yep.
You were you were talking about the Electoral College, right?
Right.
And he gave the classic Republican line of, well, I want even the small states to have a say. But if you put 2 seconds of brain thought to it, you'll realize that that's really dumb because small states like Rhode Island or Connecticut, they don't matter because they're solidly blue.
Listen, you are 100%. Let's clear this up right now. You're 100% correct. It doesn't matter whether you're living in California or you're living in Vermont. One vote should matter the same as the other. The only reason why in this country we have the Electorate College is because Republicans don't want to lose every election. They've already lost 7 of the last 8 presidential election popular vote. And the bottom line is, if we didn't have an electoral college, Republicans would never win. Why? Because the majority of Americans don't believe in what Republicans believe in. That's why, whether it be about abortion or their lack of doing anything when it comes to gun control or, the abortion issue, the bottom line is Republicans will never win the popular vote, or they will rarely win it. And the electoral college is a nice way, a clean way of saying, let's try to cheat so that we can win. That's what the Republicans are doing. They want to say that the Democrats are cheating. Donald Trump, Republicans have Alzheimer's. I think they're all in the bunker. They forget that Donald Trump lost the popular vote to Hillary Clinton badly. He lost the popular vote also.
3 million votes?
Yeah. So, they forget about that stuff. And you're absolutely right, my friend. I got to get to some other callers, but I appreciate you. And the Electoral College is an absolute joke. And any Republican that says they're for the Electoral College, it's their way of election interference. Let's be very clear on that. 702-221-7283. Nathan is next up on Pushing the Limits. Hello, Nathan.
Hi, how are you today?
Hey, I'm good, Nathan. Thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to give you the title of a book that has been banned. It's Flamer by Mike Curato. He is a Filipino-American writer, and he is also a gay man. And his book won the Lambda Literary Award for LGBTQ young adults in 2021.
Yeah, what a
so
shocker.
You might want to read it.
What a shocker.
But what's interesting, though, is the whole point that Brian and I were trying to nail down when it came to this discussion is who gives a damn what the titles are of the books, right? Unless you're having a discussion about the individual books and why we think they're getting banned, right? The reasons why. But in the context of the entire discussion about banning books, around and states around the country, right? And essentially the theme is
Right.
what? The theme is what? The theme is that there are right-wingers and Republicans that are over-regulating this, right? That are
Can I add something?
overstepping their bounds.
I want to add
So
something.
that's the whole point of
Yeah.
it. It's not necessarily about the titles of the book.
Yeah.
You really that
Let me
matters.
add something,
So
though.
It was a
Nathan, I
weird
want to add something.
discussion.
How shocking is it, Chris, that far-right MAGAs would ban a book from a gay author? A minority gay author. What a shocker.
I'm just really shocked.
Yeah, how shocking that
And
people on the
considering that
far
I'm
right.
half Filipino.
Yeah, I mean, it's so despicable, right?
And what's insane, Brian, is that there are Republicans who are gay. You know what I mean? So
plenty of
it's like
Oh my goodness, really?
that whole dynamic, right? To the caller, the whole dynamic is just insane because you have people who are homosexuals, who are part of the LGBTQ community,
Tim Scott,
who are Republicans. Yes, so it's like
Exactly,
it doesn't make any
exactly.
sense. Yeah, we can go back and forth and on
Yeah.
about the hypocrisy.
Have you heard of this guy, a complete idiot, Scott Pressler, who is an openly gay man who is, into the ballot harvesting, and he's trying to get Republicans to sign up and vote. And meanwhile, this is a guy, this is a true story, by the way, who lost a job within the Republican Party years ago because he was putting gay sex pictures on Craigslist for everybody to see. And
Brian Shapiro and I got the boot trying to go just go to one of the political events here in Vegas.
I guess I wasn't his type. I don't know. But anyway.
I guess not.
Nathan, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Southern California, a little town called Fillmore.
What do you think of your governor, Gavin
Oh, I
Newsom?
love my governor. I think he's awesome.
He's a rising star
Governor
in
Newsom
the
is
Democratic
the best.
Party.
I
Make
think
no
he's.
mistake.
I think he's done some really good things. He's done some things maybe that are a little bit disappointing, but
Absolutely.
all in all, I'd give him like a B. I think he's a decent governor. I think he's done
made
okay.
mistakes.
Yes, I do
Yeah.
too.
Yeah,
Yes.
I agree with you.
But I like Arnie too, and he's Republican.
There's a lot of good people in
Arnold
California.
Arnold
There,
Schwarzenegger, yes.
yeah, you know what? I got to say, I agree with Mr. Terminator a lot on a lot of different issues. I got to tell you, I mean, he's somebody that I would definitely consider voting for. No question about it. Nathan, it's good to hear from you, and I appreciate your
Thanks,
phone call.
Nathan.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, and have a great day. Oh, and one more thing I'd like to say,
Sure.
Brian, can I borrow $60 from you? I need to get a new Bible.
I like Nathan. She's funny. I like that.
The
I like
money
that.
order is on the way, Nathan. It's
Yeah.
coming. It's
Well,
coming right down
I'll
the
tell you
pike
what,
right now.
For $460, you can get a Bible and you can get some gold sneakers. So save up,
Oh,
okay?
yes.
Yeah.
I went out and bought up all the gold spray paint in town so I could spray paint all my shoes gold.
Hey Nathan, here's what I want before I let you go. Here's what I pray. I pray over the Bible. This is what I pray. I pray every big MAGA supporter takes out every dollar they have, take out all their savings, checking account and savings, spend every dollar, take out loans, just buy all the Bibles you want, donate all the money you want for the Trump campaign. That's what I want them all to be broke.
Some of those MAGA
Yeah.
peeps, Brian, you go to those rallies,
for
they
sure.
spend thousands of dollars on their gear and on their getup. It's hilarious.
Yeah, but it's not
Yeah.
a cult. It's not a cult at all.
Yeah.
Anyway, Nathan, thank you for the phone call. I appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Have a great
Thank
day.
you so
Thanks,
much.
Nathan. So wait, what time out, Brian Shapiro? You don't have thousands of dollars worth of your wardrobe that has Joe Biden and Kamala Harris stuff?
No, I don't
all
have
mixed
any.
in?
I don't
You
have any
all that stuff?
malarkey. I don't have any malarkey paraphernalia. No, you're
You don't
absolutely
have any
right.
Joe with his aviators on, going all Top Gun style?
No,
on
I
a
don't.
T-shirt?
No, I don't. But I do have a
That's a
John
shocker,
Lee
actually.
shirt. I do have a John Lee shirt.
And look,
no.
and a quick point on that. So I saw the interaction and the discussion you had with John Lee here on the show. And look, full disclosure, I think John Lee's a really nice guy. I completely disagree with some of his political ideology, as you can imagine, being a left-wing Democrat that I am. And I think that he's not necessarily very informed when it comes to certain issues. But he did do a good job from a financial standpoint when he was mayor of North Las Vegas. And so I have respect for him in that order. But it was kind of funny you going back and forth because it was funny because you were you would get into a situation where you were praising him and then you're like, can I get you to switch your vote away from Donald Trump? That was just a funny.
I
exchange.
tried.
Hey John, can I get you to change your mind and not vote for Donald Trump? And he was just like,
Well, it is
sonically
sad
like, no.
because in this day and age, and I've talked to people around him, and in order to run as a Republican to win, it's almost impossible. If you don't support Donald Trump, it's almost impossible for you to win. Donald Trump has hijacked the entire party, and it's really sad because I like John Lee, and I would endorse him over Stephen Horsford if he didn't vote for Donald Trump. But he knows in order for him to at least come through for the Republicans, you have to support Donald Trump, and it's unfortunate. 702-221-7283 is the number to call. 702-221-SAVE. Let's go to Tom. Tom is next on PTL. What's up, Tom?
Tom from Syracuse. Brian and Chris, hello. And
go Orange.
Charlotte, yep, go Orange. Charlotte's Web, Huckleberry Finn, the Bible are three of mine that are on the list that gentleman that called in. If you just do a little bit of research, maybe he could.
The gentleman Nelly? That's what he's talking about.
Nelly who called
Nelly.
in. Yeah.
I know. Well, anyways, the thing that boiled my blood this morning, and it happens a lot every morning when I turn on the news, when I hear these idiots like Tim Scott and this Kristi Noem and who there was another one. There's so many of them now, I kind of lost track. But the whole thing is with the trial, Brian, the judge should put him in jail, not because it's going to hurt him or gain him points with the mega crowd, because you know what's going to happen.
Right.
But because it's the rule of law. That is what the judge should be doing.
Well, I'm going to tell you something. Tom. If he continues to break these gag orders, the judge might not have any other choice. I mean, he threatened it this morning in a courtroom. This is a guy in Donald Trump who's never been told what to do. There's never been any accountability with him. He's had yes men around him his entire life, silver spoon in his mouth. And he's never been, this is the first time I believe in his life where somebody's told him what he can or cannot do.
No, but Brian, there's also, he acts like a child at times. He acts like an adolescent. At times. A number of times, right? I mean, not all the time, but a number of times. He acts like somebody who has a very juvenile with respect to how he handles things, right? I mean, that's just the way the guy is. It's a little bit strange at times, but it's also very, it's very disturbing sometimes as well, too.
It is. So, Tom, I don't know what's going to happen here. People can make the case it could help Donald Trump or it can hurt Donald Trump politically. At this point, I'm at the point where I don't even care, really. I agree that if it continues to happen, the judge should put him in jail. But at the same time, whether it helps him or not politically, it shouldn't matter, right? The rule of law, if this was you or me, as Chris said earlier in the show, we would have already been in jail. So I think if he continues to do it, which I could almost guarantee you he will, he doesn't know how to keep his mouth shut. I think he belongs in jail anyway, but and so many members of his family. It's funny. These are the same people that'll say the Trump or the Biden crime family, right? But then when it comes to Donald Trump, they're silent.
Right. And Brian, I got to say, I watched Game 7 yesterday, and I thought of you. I had to go to bed, so I didn't get the outcome, and I'm sorry that happened because I know how it must feel.
I'll be honest with you. I grew up a Hartford Whalers season ticket holder.
He's not that distraught, Tom.
I'm not that distraught,
he's,
but
he's not a fan of the Vegas Golden Knights.
I would have. There's one reason why I would have liked the Knights to have won, so I could go to more NHL playoff hockey games, and me and Chris are unable to do that. But you know what? Pete DeBoer, Dallas, give him credit, and I think they're going to make the Stanley Cup Finals, and they're going to take care of Colorado. Tom, I appreciate the call, my friend. You stay safe there in New York.
Thanks, Tom. Have a good Monday.
Yep. Take care. Take care, Tom. Thank you. 221-7283, 702-221-7283. Let's go to Paul. Paul is next up on PTL. What's going on, Paul?
Hey, man. Hey, I wasn't going to call in today, but you started talking about banning books. So I have a question for you. So if all these crazy right-wing MAGA cult members are worried about banning books, why are they not banning the Bible that has rape, incest, and murder and crucifying God? Why is that okay, but not a book about a gay flag?
Such a good point. It's because they're hypocrites.
Because it's the Bible. That's why. And, the majority of evangelicals, right, are on the right. They're Republicans. So that's why.
I know.
It's simple as that.
And I'm a person of faith myself, but if you're going to say that if you're going to, judge a person because they're gay, but you're fine with a guy that sexually assaults women and rapes women, you're a disgusting human being and you're not a Christian. It's the hypocrisy. How are you going to not ban the Bible if you're going to ban a book about... You know what I mean? It's like, how do we justify
That's where we are in America right now, though. That is exactly where we are. We are in a position where we have a large portion of the population, okay, not the largest, but I'll say a large portion of the population that will play the hypocritical game. They will make that distinction. to the caller. They'll say, hey, I don't agree with the gay lifestyle. I think they are destroying the country. But at the same time, I have no issue whatsoever when it comes to Donald J. Trump and the drawbacks that he possesses.
But I will say this, though. I will say this, though, Paul. I'm seriously considering supporting Kristi Noem because, did you hear she allegedly was in a room with Kim Jong-un and she spoke down to him? Oh, wait a second. It was led to her attention that was in the book, so they're editing that out. Oh, wait, I retract. I retract my support for Kristi Noem.
But was she really there, Brian, or was she really not there? Or did she meet him, or did she not meet him?
But if you can't train your puppy, though, she'll do she'll provide a service for you and execute your dog in the backyard and shoot the dog in the head. So she can provide services for you.
It's disturbing how lack of empathy that there is for these people. It's just absolutely depressing that we live with people like this. And you're right. I'm not going to find a common ground with somebody that wants to murder dogs and support a guy that rapes a woman because Joe Biden told. It's absolutely morally, it's repugnant, Brian.
You are so correct. I'm, these people out there, I support a rapist because I think Joe Biden might be too old. That's really the way these people think. Yeah, you're
great
right.
minds think alike, sir. You're on the right page as far as I'm concerned.
And the last thing is, what policies do they think he's going to enact that's going to drop gas prices and lower the price of eggs?
Well, they couldn't name a policy. They'll talk about the pipeline, and the pipeline won't affect gas prices for years down the road. Gas has been continuing to go down. Inflation is continuing to go down. Unemployment. Tim Scott goes on national television and says black unemployment was the lowest it's ever been under Trump. That's not true. It's the lowest it's ever been under Joe Biden. The fact checking everywhere. Tim Scott has no backbone. Some of these far right Republicans have no moral compass, and they're pathetic. And I appreciate the call, Paul. Thank you so much.
Brian, you mean that when Donald Trump gets elected in 2024, that the interest rates aren't going to, go shoot down to the floor from 7%, like Nelly was bringing up earlier?
Well, let's be clear.
That's not going to happen? You don't think that's going to happen?
I don't know.
If Republicans get in office?
It might. Chris, did you know all of
a sudden it's going to change?
Chris, all he has to do is pick up the phone and call Vladimir Putin, and that war in the Ukraine is over. Did you know that?
I did not know that.
Did you know that he has contacts within Hamas, and they're very afraid of Donald Trump. Yeah. So that would have never happened in Israel if Donald Trump was president. Did you know, Chris, there would never be a global pandemic if Donald Trump was president? Oh wait. I'm sorry. I retract that statement. As Kristi Noem would say, I'm going to have to, replace that statement. I'm sorry. I'm wrong on that one.
It's Sarcasm Monday, folks, here on PTL, sorry. Obviously. Myself and Brian are knee deep in it.
Sorry, I'm going to have to edit that. I'm going to have to, as Kristi Noem, can I edit that off of my radio show? I'm going to have to edit that. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. 702-221-7283. Edward is next. What's up, Edward?
Hey, Edward.
Hey, what's up, guys? What's going on?
Not much, man. What's on your mind?
Nothing much, man. Hey, I was watching the things about the protests recently, especially like the people that protested at the Michigan graduation. What do y'all think about stuff like that, man?
Well, here's my thing on the protests, okay? I think there's multiple things that can be true. Here's my thing, okay? If you're protesting because you are, it's again, Brian pointed this out at the top of the show. If it's a pro-Palestinian, if that's the nature, if that is your mindset when you're protesting, absolutely no problem with it, okay? If there is any element whatsoever of anti-Semitism or being, in bed with groups like Hamas or Hezbollah, and that's the nature of your protest, then I do not agree with that, okay? So there's a little bit of nuance here that needs to be discussed, and I don't think is properly being addressed when we're talking about these protests. There's also an element, too, where I think there's, some young people out there that just want to be a part of something, and so they get in, so they end up out there and being in the mix. So I think there's also that. But to me, it's got to be about, okay, if you actually have empathy, right, for the Palestinian people, that is what you're concerned about, then I have no problem with it whatsoever. Yeah. That's my viewpoint when it comes to the protests.
Okay.
Now, Brian's made it very clear on his show where he stands when it comes to protests, right? And I don't need to speak for you. You can speak for yourself.
You can speak for me. You can represent me.
Okay, so Brian's a Jewish American man, right? So obviously,
Chris is my legal
he stands
representation.
With Israel, okay?
That was cute.
Right? Your positions are you're pro-Israel.
No, I stand with Hamas.
Okay, so Yeah, I know. We're being funny here again. So hey, to Edward. Hey, it's Sarcasm Monday, my friend. We're laying it on thick right now. Yeah.
By the way, from now on, I'm gonna Chris. Can you talk and I'll just move my mouth? Can we do that? Chris, I would like you to talk.
No, you're very fine talking for yourself. You do a great job.
I would like you to give my stance on on Israel. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm thinking of the American Pie movie, my friend. You know, where he's like very sound take on foreign policy when Chris Ozstriker. Do you see?
You're terrible at representing me. Terrible. Horrible.
I'm not trying to represent Shab.
All right, fine.
Shab, you can do it yourself, man. I don't need to do it.
Edward, good to hear from you, my friend.
Edward, have a great Monday, all right?
Thank you, Edward. Let's go to Kava real quickly. Kava, what's going on, man?
Hi, Brian. How you guys doing today?
Good.
Doing good.
So I just want to address 3 quick points.
Okay, we got 1 minute, so you're going to have to do... Sorry, I'm up against the clock here. Go ahead.
So first one, I want to say thank you for everything you guys are doing. Based on your support for the LGBTQIA community, I have decided to come up like that because of you guys' support for the community. I appreciate that.
Oh, that's great.
Number 2, I want to address something with MAGA real quick because clearly they're still not getting it. So I guess I have to lay it out for them yet again. Donald Trump, as Ryan has stated more times than he's had to need to say, Trump has been found liable by a jury of his peers for SA. If you don't support that, there's something seriously wrong with you, and he's going to go to jail, and that's going to be that. And yeah.
You're right, Kava. I'm with you, Kava. I'm up against
We appreciate the phone call, Kava. Yeah, we're back end of the show here.
Kava, get me early in the show tomorrow, and I'll get you on. Sorry, we're up against the clock here. Chris, I appreciate you being here as always.
Good times.
It's been a very lively, sarcastic show.
Kind of sad. Vegas Golden Knights season over.
That is a little sad.
Wanted to keep seeing some hockey. Some
it is
hockey.
Well, we can still watch it, just not in person. Yeah. But hey, everybody out there, if you support what we do here on PTL, subscribe to my YouTube page, which is at PTL Radio Show. You could also email me personally, Brian Shapiro at kshp.com. I'm on X, at PTL Radio Show, TikTok. I'm on all the platforms. At PTL Radio Show is the best way on YouTube. And I appreciate all of you for joining us. We got some great guests lined up for later in the week, including our own Attorney General, Aaron Ford's going to be joining us. So we got some great guests lined up. Lisa Guerrero, the very beautiful and talented Lisa Guerrero, is going to be joining me as well. Thanks for joining us, everybody, and thank you for all the phone calls as always. Hush Money trial updates tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow, everybody. Have a great day.
Hey, everybody. Are you struggling to find a pizza place that reminds you of Brooklyn? That true blue New York style pie? Well, worry no more. Stallone's Italian Eatery Pizza is a knockout. We're located at 467 East Silverado Ranch Boulevard, just off of Premium Road, half a mile east of South Point Casino, just minutes from the Las Vegas Strip. Come by and grab a slice of pie. Plus, check out our Brooklyn-inspired Italian cuisine. Our sandwiches are super. Hero, that is.